Tonight on A News at 6.
A Clearview woman is in hospital in critical condition after falling from a lawn tractor. Coming up, I'll tell you why her 3-year-old son is being credited for getting help.
Canada's Governor General calls him a hero, but Orangeville resident Darren Coogan says he did what anyone should. Tonight, how one man saved another from a horrific crash.
Hello.
A phone scam is making its way through Simcoe County. We'll tell you who's being targeted and what you need to know tonight.
The locks are coming off mailboxes and Canada Post staff are returning to work, but their union says the fight is not over yet. We'll explain coming up.
This is A News at 6.
Good evening. New details are coming out tonight about a horrible accident near Stayner that's left a woman fighting for her life. She was on a riding lawnmower with a young boy yesterday afternoon when they ran into some trouble on a hill. As Roger Klein tells us tonight, the woman's condition is very serious and a community is praying for her recovery.
This lawn tractor remains exactly where it came to a stop at the bottom of a steep hill at a home near Stayner. A 34-year-old woman and her 3-year-old son fell off the machine in a terrible accident yesterday afternoon. The mother was seriously injured and had to be airlifted to Sunnybrook Hospital in Toronto. Her left leg was severed below the hip, and her arm was also seriously injured. Her young son received minor injuries. Clearview Fire Chief says the horrific accident has left firefighters shaken and that the 3-year-old who was riding on the tractor with his mother acted heroically by going back up to the house to get a phone to call for help. It's still unclear whether the boy dialed 911 or his mother, but neighbor Melissa Gully is impressed that someone so young could help in a life or death situation.
Is that better? I think, like I said, I've got a 6-year-old and an almost 3-year-old, and to think that he's so brave like that when his mom's going through that he can run all the way back up the house, up the hill to do that, that's amazing. What an amazing little guy, for sure.
The director of Simcoe County Paramedic Services, Andrew Robert, says training young children to use 911 is critical for parents and caregivers.
There's so many people at home alone with kids during the day. A spouse may be at work and one spouse is at home with the kids. And really that child can be your lifeline if something happens. The chief says he would like to have the 3-year-old recognized for his efforts to save his mother, but right now all thoughts are with the family. In Clearview, Roger Klein, A News.
The Peterborough police officer who was shot during a drug raid in Lindsay last week has returned home tonight. Constable Keith Calderwood was shot twice in the raid on a suspected crack house. He returned home from Toronto St. Michael's Hospital on the weekend. The wounded officer has had an outpouring of support from the community. A 21-year-old Toronto man was shot and killed in the raid. And tonight, drug charges have been filed against a 39-year-old woman from Bowmanville in connection with that raid. A story of survival is about to put an Orangeville man in the national spotlight. Darren Coogan will receive one of the highest honors in the land for his daring actions at the scene of a horrible crash on the 407. Julia Burke now on how a split-second decision has paved the way to a new friendship.
Darren Coogan is about to be honored for saving the life of a stranger.
You know what? I'll never forget it, and I don't think Satwinder Bajwa will ever forget it himself.
That's Sajwinder Bajwa, the man he saved, standing beside the cube van he was pulled from before it burst into flames. It all began on a late November night nearly 5 years ago. Coogan was heading to work when he saw the cube van ahead of him swerve to avoid hitting a deer and then crash into a pole.
I pull over to the side of the road, call 911, let the police know where I am, and run up to the truck.
Inside the truck, Coogan discovered Bajwa, badly injured and unable to move. As flames began entering the crumpled passenger compartment, Coogan used his elbow to smash the driver's side window and pull Bajwa to safety.
Less than a minute to a minute and a half later, the entire cab was in flames. So if I wouldn't have pulled him out, I guess when I did, he would have died.
Emergency crews who raced to the scene agree the van was full of flammable liquids, including diesel and nitrogen. Bajwa suffered cuts and bruises and a broken pelvis, but he survived. OPP Sergeant Dave Woodford says police are always impressed by actions like Coogan's.
A lot of people don't want the recognition. They do it because, you know, it's the right thing to do.
That's what Coogan thinks. He's already received a Bravery Award at Queen's Park, and he's honored that later this year, Canada's Governor-General will recognize his actions in Ottawa with a Medal of Bravery.
That's somebody's father or somebody's mother, daughter, son, you know, who has a family, and they'd like to get home, and your actions could mean whether or not they actually get there.
Satwinder Bajwa got home. The husband and father of 3 is grateful to have a second chance at life. The two men still see each other once a year around the anniversary of the crash for dinner at Satwinder Bajwa's home. Today over the phone, Bajwa told me he plans on being in Ottawa on the day the man who saved his life is honored. Julia Burke News.